Hello, beautiful people. This is Kwavi from Kwavi.com. Welcome to KwaviTV. And today's episode, I have Leta Brooks, a coronavirus survivor, and she's going to be talking to us about her whole journey, what happened, how she got tested. I have a lot of questions for her, so stay tuned as I bring Leta Brooks on. Hi, Leta.
Hello. Hi.
Hi.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. How are you feeling now?
Better. So today is day 17
Oh,
of
okay.
this journey.
Yes.
So one thing that I'll say, jumping all the
Yes.
way to the end, is the recovery process is very, very slow.
Oh,
This is
okay.
not something, they can't give you an antibiotic. There's nothing that you can do.
Okay.
I thought you're on a 14-day quarantine that, yay, day 14, I'm going to be all better. And I really wasn't. I mean,
Oh,
it's a
no.
very gradual 10% a day, if I had to give it a
Really?
statistic. Yeah.
Oh.
Yes.
All right. So for those listening, I met Leta through the Best Self magazine. So we were both in the Fabulous Five group, and that's how I met her. And then I just found out a few weeks ago that she had the coronavirus. So let's go backwards.
Okay. Yes.
So
Let's go to the
tell
beginning.
me, yeah, from the beginning. So what made you even think that you had it?
I woke up, it was a Monday morning,
Mhm.
and I woke up with body aches. And I
Okay.
remember being very uncomfortable the whole day. Just, your
Mhm.
back doesn't feel right. You're
Yes.
very achy, was very fatigued. So I had slept
Okay.
well the night before,
Okay.
but I woke up with that brain fog. And again, that doesn't necessarily mean you have corona, but when you put it all
Right.
together, that afternoon I had sat with my kids, school reading and their schoolwork, and I couldn't stay awake. So I fell asleep
So was school
3
already
hours.
out? Sorry to interrupt. Was school already out by
We were
then?
already out. Yes, we were
Okay.
already out. This
Okay.
was March 23rd, so
March 23rd.
17 days
Okay.
ago. So yes, we
Okay.
had been out for a week, and I own a retail store, so I had spent
Yes.
the first week of quarantine really making business decisions and what I was going to do
Yes.
for my son that I worked was
Uh-huh.
Friday. That may have something to do with where I
Okay.
contracted it, um, because I have no idea
Okay.
I got this from. No, I still to
So you
this
don't
day
even
have
know.
no clue.
Oh, so you don't even. Oh my word. Okay. So quick question.
Mm-mm.
How are
No,
the
no
kids?
one
Did they get?
around me has been sick. Nobody. There's not one
Oh.
person in my inner circle that I could pinpoint that that's the place I got it. I'm the only one so far of everyone that I know
Wow.
that has tested positive and has had symptoms.
So it's
So
possible
the
that
end
you
of
got
that
it from
day, going
someone
back,
who didn't have it. You probably got it from someone who didn't
correct,
even
that
have
didn't
it.
show symptoms. So this is really interesting, and probably one of the most key takeaways from what I'm going to tell you. When the doctor finally called that I was
Mhm.
positive with my test results, and I asked him about Derek, and I said, we are here together. He's been caring for me.
Yes.
He has no symptoms. And the
Okay.
doctor said 80% of people will get this and never get sick and never show any symptoms.
Wow.
So
So,
that's
hmm.
huge.
Yeah. So I think that's an important thing for the viewers to hear because
Mhm.
we keep hearing out on the TV. We hear that from the media. People can be asymptomatic, in other words, have no symptoms, but could be carrying the virus. And in which case,
Most people,
yeah,
80%. So
wow,
right
that's
now
high.
today, we're in Georgia, and so, people watching and listening are all over the United States, but we're here in Georgia. We hit 20,000 just this morning.
Yeah,
But in reality, it's 80% higher. So
correct.
20,000 have only shown symptoms and gotten sick.
Mhm.
Like me, I'm one of those 20,000. 80%. That's huge. That's how many people right now today are walking around with it and don't even know.
So, how did you get tested? Because I've been hearing that, they don't have a lot of test kits. How were you able to get tested?
So that night, okay, I went to the first day when I had the body aches and the fatigue and I slept. When I woke up from that 3-hour nap, I was running a low grade fever. Now,
Okay.
for me, this is also important because my fever never got above 100. So they
Oh,
talk about the high fever on the news.
correct.
I never had that,
Hmm.
and yet tested positive. So, um, that night, waking up from a nap, that's when the fever, low grade, 100
Yes.
fever set in. Thankfully, I called Derek. I'm in a fog. I'm scared. I've got body
Right.
aches. I've got fever. I called Derek. He was still at his office, and he looked up a coronavirus urgent care kind
Oh,
of
wow.
hotline. So I
Wow.
called that, and I got a nurse on the phone right away. They answer. The nurses actually answer, which is
Oh.
neat. And you
Hmm.
go through a full checklist. And if they
Okay.
think that you truly have the symptoms,
Right.
then they go ahead and do all the paperwork and get you in the system right there on the phone. And then they
Okay.
sent me to the closest testing facility, which for
Oh.
me, there's a hospital. I'm close to a hospital,
Okay. Okay.
and it is like you see on TV. I drove up. You don't get out of the car. They put a
Okay.
mask on you. The nurses come to the window. The first thing they do is flu test.
What?
Then you wait. So you can get a
Right.
flu test result in 20 minutes. So
Mm.
they have you drive a little bit forward and wait. And while you're waiting, that's when the doctor came up and I never got out of the car, and they're in full protective gear, and he does an
Correct.
exam right then and there. So he's asking me about my symptoms. If the flu test comes back negative, then they corona test.
Right. So in your case, though, how did you get to did you drive to the hospital or
I
did you?
drove myself.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
And that
I
must have been
wasn't,
hard.
but again, low grade fever.
You were
My
okay.
my hospital is 2 minutes from my
Okay.
house.
Okay.
So, I wasn't out of it. Nothing was in
Okay.
my chest yet. That all came later. I
Mm.
wasn't to where they say on the news you need that respirator. That's not right
Right.
away.
Okay. Not for you.
And I know going through it, I know at what point that could come. But that first day, body aches, only a fever of 100. I was with it enough to go drive myself to urgent
Wow.
care.
And for the viewers, how old are you? Because I'm sure people want to know. How old are you?
42.
Okay. So after they did the test,
Hmm.
the
Okay,
doctor
so
did that
flu
one.
comes back negative
Right.
right then and there on the
Yes.
spot. Now he listened to my lungs
Okay.
from through my car, and he looked at me and kind of nodded and said, "This looks like corona." And I'm
Mm.
still in denial. Like, "Really? Are you sure? Okay. Let's get a test. Let's
Okay.
see."
All
He
right.
listened to my lungs, and that very first day he said 70% capacity. He said, "You have any
Okay.
lazy lungs," is what he called it.
Okay.
And he told me
Okay.
what to do. You do not want to lay flat. You have to sleep in a recliner or very propped up. You don't Laying
Oh
flat
wow.
is when it'll set the virus, it'll set pneumonia in, you'll start gasping.
Oh.
So you want to keep
Oh.
your lungs up so you can get the best deep breaths that you can. And I'm
Okay.
still 17 days later, I'm still elevated. It's uncomfortable to lay flat. I
Oh
tried
wow.
last
Oh,
night,
you
and
can't even
laying
do it.
flat
Okay.
hurts. So
Oh
that was
wow.
important. So that started on day one.
Yeah.
What he told me was 3 to 5 days, you'll
Uh-huh.
get your test results back.
Three to
And
five days.
it took
Okay.
11. It was not 3 to 5 days.
Okay.
So,
But then you left the hospital with the knowledge
mhm.
that you had it. Was that the case?
No,
Because
no, I left just knowing that I had the test
okay.
and that he gave me the inclination.
Right.
But what he told me to do, he said, "Listen, if corona was not in our world right now and you were feeling this way, what would you do?" And I said, "Well,
Huh.
I'd go home, I'd take Tylenol, and I'd rest." And he said,
Okay.
"That's all you can do. So go do that, and
Okay.
we'll call you either way, yes or no, positive or negative, we'll
Mm.
call you." It was just unfortunate for me that it took so long. What I was told from the nurse is from March 22nd to
Mhm.
March 25th, they had 10,000 tests that were administered,
Oh
and the
wow.
labs were just that far behind. So now they're doing tests in-house. The hospitals are
Correct.
doing them, so it's
Yeah.
only
So
taking
different.
24 to 48 hours. They
Yeah.
also wouldn't retest me because, at day 7, at day 9,
Yeah.
and I'm really sick at this point.
Oh.
"Where's my test? Where's my test? Can I get another one?" And they
And
said,
said
"No,
no.
no, you've already had one. You have to wait."
So what when you started getting sicker, like
Mhm.
your symptoms got worse, what did they recommend for you to do?
Nothing. And that's the hard part.
Wow.
It's It and I say nothing, it's Tylenol. There was nothing else
Okay.
you can take. On So the doctor called on day 11 and
Mm.
finally told me, and there was no sense of relief.
Because you kind of figured that at that point.
At that point, because that second week, so let me explain kind of how this morphed, because
Right.
people that are going through it or scared they have it, I think the symptoms are really important.
Yeah.
I
Please let us
never
know.
had a fever over 100, like I said.
Okay.
So for a full 7 days, my symptoms were body aches, low-grade fever off and on, not consistent, and
Okay.
extreme fatigue. I mean, I
Right.
could barely
I've heard
lift my
that.
head, sleeping
Yeah.
a lot,
Mm.
16, 17 hours a day. Just
Wow.
all I wanted to do was sleep.
Mm.
And that's it. And I remember having an allergies, and I don't have allergies, but the
Mm.
pollen was horrible.
Right.
So I honestly thought maybe I just have a sinus infection. There was nothing in my
Wow.
chest, but it came. So
Right.
at the 7-day mark, it really moved into my chest after 7 days. But what was interesting is I never had a fever again. So the last fever I had
Wow.
was at the 6-day mark.
Yeah.
And once it settled into my chest, it is like what they talk about. It's like having an elephant or someone sitting on your
Ooh.
chest. It's really hard to get a good deep breath. It's painful.
Yeah.
And if I would move around my house, that I would cough. Moving
Wow.
made me cough.
Right.
So honestly, the only way I had any relief was to lay perfectly still, arms down by my side, elevated in my bed. That's it.
Wow.
So I stayed like that for almost a week.
So the kids are home with you. So what did you do
Oh,
about the kids?
that was terrible. Terrible.
Oh,
I am a single mom, so
yeah.
for me to get sick, it was tough. That was mentally,
Wow.
besides I do want to talk about the anxiety, but I don't even know how we got through it. They didn't.
Wow.
I couldn't help them with schoolwork, and my
Right.
kids are still young enough where I need to be sitting with them. They're both behind. We're finally getting caught up,
And
but
that'll be fine, really.
I mean,
If
at this point,
in the grand scheme
I'm
of things,
lucky to be
please.
alive. So
Yeah.
there is gratitude,
Yeah.
and we got through it. But my son plays video games. Thankfully, Derek was with me. The
Mhm.
doctor said we have to assume that Derek had it. He is one of those
Okay.
asymptomatic people.
Yeah.
He was with me the night before I got
And
sick.
for those listening, Derek is her boyfriend, in case you
Yes, yes,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
I am not
So we
married, but I do have a
yeah.
sweetie.
Yeah.
And he was very helpful to be able to come. I mean, even to serve dinner, help my kids get a plate of food,
Yeah.
play. My daughter
Yeah.
is 8. I mean, she was coming
Yeah.
unglued, being quarantined. Mom
Oh,
can't move.
touching.
He would
Oh.
come at night and he would just play endless games with her. Just
Mm.
took her for a walk. Same with my son. Just somebody, and he's still working. He's an attorney, so he is one of
Mhm.
those businesses that is still open right
Right.
now. What's the term the government's calling it? Essential. He's an essential
Essential work, yeah.
business, so
Mhm.
he still has to go into the office every day. But
Mhm.
he was coming every night, and once it moved into my lungs, he had to sleep here because
Yeah.
that's when it got really scary.
Wow.
It was. I mean, we had some real hard conversations through some tears. Like
Oh,
he had to know my
wow.
wishes.
Oh my
If
goodness.
you're waiting for the other shoe to drop, you're waiting
Wow.
for, is tonight when I'm going to gasp?
Oh my
Do we
goodness.
need, handle the kids?
Oh
Don't
my
take my
word.
cats to the pound. Like there
Oh,
are things that if this really got bad,
wow.
you have to know.
Yeah.
The news is scary and people are dying.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
um, so that was Derek's role in it. He was helping with
Yeah.
the kids.
Wow. Yeah,
He
'cause
never got sick.
wow. Oh, so I know one of the symptoms people talk a lot about is the sense of smell, that it goes completely. Did that happen to you?
It was dull, and someone asked me that before I even knew that that was a symptom. But I remember that first 7 days when I told you I was having some sinus issues, my ears hurt really bad, and that might have just been pollen on top of having
Mhm.
corona. I love peppermint oil. It opens up my
Mm,
sinuses, and
yeah.
again, there's not much else you can take. So I
Mm,
was afraid you don't know how these drugs are going to interact with corona. So I
yeah.
didn't want to test anything. So I
Yeah.
remember I would put a little bit of peppermint right here under my nose. I would put Vicks on my chest. You know how strong that is?
Yeah.
I couldn't smell it. I
Wow.
would
So
have
that's
to douse in peppermint.
yeah.
And then I thought, okay, something's wrong
Mm,
here.
yeah.
I could, that's the most powerful scent, one of them. and I couldn't smell the Vicks at all. And
Wow.
that's, anyone that's ever
Yeah.
smelled Vicks
Yeah,
knows
Vicks
that
is
you can. So
that's
I
so
did.
true.
I still am rubbing Vicks on my chest. It felt good,
Wow.
to kind of open everything up.
Yeah. So the days that you mentioned when it got really scary, did you
Mhm.
consider going to the hospital or you didn't want to go?
You don't. That's a tough call. Now, I never got to the point where I felt like I couldn't get a breath.
Okay.
You're waiting for that moment to come because for some it does come, but for me it didn't. I'm
Mm,
through it and I can say that.
mm,
What happened for me, and a lot of people, I like to share this part because if you are a person that suffers from headaches, specifically migraines, you know that severe stress to your body, whether it's physical, mental, or emotional, can trigger a migraine. And a
mm,
lot of times a migraine is triggered after. So for
mhm.
me, there was 3 solid days of headaches and a migraine
Wow.
in there.
Oh, goodness.
And that was really difficult. So you're dealing with this on your chest and not being able to get a breath. My head was pounding,
Mm.
pounding, so much so it made me nauseous.
Oh, wow.
So the worst of this, my worst day was full what I would describe as a migraine, which made me nauseous, but yet
Mm.
I was too sick to get to the restroom to be
Wow.
physical, and you don't want to
Yeah.
throw up. You have
Yeah.
something in your lungs.
Yeah.
And that was the worst. And that was the day we
Mm.
considered going to the hospital. Derek was at work, and this was really challenging for my
Oh,
daughter,
wow.
who
Yeah.
was home when I'm going through this. She called Derek in tears
Oh,
and said, "You got to
wow.
get here."
Oh,
And that was
wow.
it. And he left, and he was there. Once he removed her from me,
Mhm.
and I took a lot of medicine. I used a lot of peppermint. Just slept. Um, then it yeah, I was dry heaving, but that was the worst day. And
Okay.
we just got through it. I never
Yeah.
made it to the hospital, but
Thankfully. Yeah.
sleeping, I slept for almost during the day another 6 hours, and the headache
Mm.
wasn't gone even, and then the next morning
Yes.
is when the doctor called. And I just said, "I'm not yeah, of course I do. As
Yeah.
sick
Yeah.
as I've been, of course
Yeah.
I do."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it wasn't any news to you at that point because
No,
you were
not at
already
that point.
experiencing it.
I wish he
Yeah.
had called a week ago,
Right.
but um yeah,
Yeah.
and you know, the interesting part about the call, because I was at day 11 and he wanted to know how what I have explained to you, how
Yeah.
everything progressed. He he was congratulations. He was
Really?
so you beat your pandemic. I mean, this rah rah, like good old buddy, old pal kind of thing. And I still had a headache. I
Of
still didn't feel
yeah.
right. And I thought, I'm
That's
not
odd.
celebrating. You're not
Right.
telling me good news. But
Right.
he said why he was trying to be so positive, of course, is to help me with the fear.
Mm.
And he's calling with bad news. Of course, I'm sure he's made a lot of those phone calls at this point,
Yeah.
and it scared a lot of people. And he told me that this virus, now that I've had it, I am completely immune and I can never
Right.
get it again.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. It's like
Yeah.
chickenpox.
Yeah.
Once you've had it, you're good to go
Good go.
forever.
Yeah.
So my kids are good.
Yeah.
Derek is good,
Yeah.
and I'm good. So
Yeah.
now I don't even need. I'm like, well, I feel like I
Okay.
have armor on.
All right. So I have a question for you. You said your kids are good. So did they test your kids or
No,
Derek? No.
no, and they wouldn't because they didn't show
Show
symptoms. They
symptoms.
told me there's not enough tests available to do
Okay.
tests on people that are asymptomatic.
Yes.
The doctor said we assume they had it because the
Mm-hmm.
4 of you were quarantined together,
Correct.
but because they didn't show symptoms, they had it, got through it. They were
They're
completely
good.
fine. For
Right.
whatever reason, I'm the one that got sick.
Yeah. Now, do you have any underlying health conditions?
No,
Okay.
except I am a kidney donor.
Okay.
And so I'm a little unsure about this. I would love to ask the
Wow.
transplant doctor because
Yeah.
what made me a candidate to be a donor is because I am so healthy. They
Right.
do not let you donate
Of
unless
course.
you are the
That's
epitome
true.
of health.
Correct.
And so I've had someone recently who's also given a kidney. They said you don't have a suppressed immune system. You're a kidney donor. You've got one of the strongest immune systems there
Right.
is.
Yeah.
But on day 15, the doctor called on day 11, and I
Yeah.
was talking to you about that slow
Yeah.
recovery. I
Yeah.
thought I had a little setback because I wasn't
Mm.
feeling well
Yeah.
again after day 14. I was tired, and my headache came back, not severe, just dull. So
Yeah.
I called that Corona nurse line, and I was
Right.
able to ask some questions. So on day 15, you
Yeah.
asked what you're allowed to take. I finally got the list of what you can do after I was already through it. And I'm
Right.
thinking this would have been really helpful on day 1,
Correct.
not day 15, but I do want to share that list for
Yeah.
everybody that's
Perfect.
going through
Please.
it.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So this is what you need to do. Some of it's going to sound like common sense, but she said, the nurse was very adamant. I want you to do all these things. Number
Hmm.
1, water. Sounds like a
Okay.
no-brainer, but she said the more that you drink, you have to basically loosen, and the more water you drink, it's going to make the mucus in your lungs looser.
Mm.
And you want a wet cough. If you have a dry
Mm.
cough, that virus is really stuck in your lungs.
Okay.
That's where it
Wow.
gets dangerous. So the more
Oh.
water you drink, the looser it can get, and you want to start moving it around. So
Okay.
tons of water, again, sounds like a no-brainer, but I like the reason.
Yeah.
The second is electrolytes,
Okay.
Pedialyte or Gatorade. She said you
Okay.
want to start replacing those. Take vitamin C.
Okay.
You can have cough medicine. I asked about Mucinex because that's what I had here, and she said
Yeah.
yes. I don't know
Okay.
about every other brand,
Okay.
but just a specific Mucinex cough medicine you can take, and only Tylenol.
Only. That's what
So
I've heard too. Yeah.
no
Hmm.
Advil, and I can't take those anyways. I can't take
Okay.
because I only have one kidney. So
Yes.
Tylenol,
Okay.
is my drug of
Yep.
choice, so to speak.
Right. Yeah.
Um, when I had the headaches and I called, they let me take something stronger to get rid of that migraine
Hmm.
because it was making me sick, and
Yeah.
having to vomit or dry heave with corona in your
Yeah.
lungs is not pleasant.
Wow.
But I got specific permission. I
Okay.
wanted to
Do
make
that.
sure about the
Okay.
interactions, and you don't want to kind of take a migraine medicine that you don't know how it's going to affect
Yeah.
corona.
Everything.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Correct.
call the lines, call the nurses. I'm
Yeah.
telling you that they were every time I called, they pick up the
Wow.
phone and would spend as much time on the phone. They don't want to see you. They do not
Yeah.
want you to come
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
unless
Makes
it's
sense.
life or death.
Yeah.
They will help you. They will answer everything you have. The last one was a dehumidifier. I told her I
Okay.
didn't have one, but I was diffusing oils next to
Right.
me, and she said perfect.
Okay.
Just take essential oils and diffuse, and just
Yes.
keep that
Good touch
moisture and
flow.
and everything kind of flowing. I like peppermint because of
Yes.
sinus. She
Yeah.
said it was perfect. So,
Wow.
and nasal spray. She said use nasal spray and try to get that gunk out of there. And that was it. I
Yeah.
mean, so there's the list. Write that down, and
Wow.
if you or
Yeah.
someone has it, that's all that you can do.
Wow. So, how are you feeling today?
Better. Better.
Okay.
There is still a heaviness, that deep breath. You can still feel it. Coughing less. Even
Okay.
yesterday in the evenings, I notice I cough a lot more, but I don't
Mm.
know. I'm getting more tired. Of course, I'm getting more tired.
Yeah.
I want to talk about my setback on day 15.
Yeah.
So
Tell us about that.
okay, so day 14, you're starting to feel better. I just moving around, cleaning my house, sweeping. I've been down and out for over
Yeah.
2 weeks at this point, and
Right.
what happened excuse me, I have to cough now.
That's
um,
okay.
what happened was by 6 o'clock that night, I was completely exhausted, couldn't move
Mm.
off the couch, couldn't serve dinner, couldn't.
Wow.
The dull headache came back. I mean, I was coughing a lot, and I thought, oh, is there a relapse? Am I going in the wrong direction? Did I do too much? What's wrong? Why did I
Mm.
feel a little bit better, and now I
Yeah.
feel horrible?
Right.
So on the morning of the 15th, I woke up with the dull headache. That's always a trigger for me. So I called that nurse line, and that's again when she gave me
Yeah.
the what I can do. But she said, "No, you are not relapsing. You are through the worst of it." And this is what she said. It's kind of dramatic, but I like the way she put it.
Yeah.
She said, your body has just fought a war. You have
Mm.
been doing battle with this disease, and you are completely exhausted. She said, you may be pretty bored and
Mhm.
ready to get back to life, but you have no physical strength to do that, and do not
Wow.
push it.
Okay.
She said, it's going to be very, very slow. You have to take this day by day. If still nap, still rest, that, don't, not that I have left the house, but
Yeah.
you're not ready. You're not ready to exercise. It is that level of exhaustion. She said this virus attaches and does not want to let go. And your body has given it every single thing that
Wow.
you have to fight it.
So
So
basically, what you were experiencing was normal. That part was
yes,
normal.
yes, she gave, and that really calmed my anxiety.
Mm,
Where the whole world is watching the news, and we're
yeah,
all learning about this, and that was one of the things that was really difficult, was the anxiety.
of course.
You find out, actually, when he told me I had it, my anxiety level went.
Oh,
Now
wow.
that it's like you're waiting for the other shoe to drop. You're waiting
Yeah,
to gasp. Now
yeah,
I didn't want to sleep. I was
right,
terrified to go to sleep at night.
right.
Now that I 100% knew I had it. When there's doubt, you're kind of
Yeah,
just dealing with your symptoms
yeah.
and your illness. When you get that concrete diagnosis, it
Wow.
almost made it worse. It was
Yeah,
not relief. I didn't have that
yeah,
rah-rah that the doctor.
yeah.
Now I had, oh my gosh, am I going to make it through this? Because some
Right.
people aren't.
Right. And you're watching and seeing what's.
Yes. And so around day 15, my friends are checking on me. People were bringing dinners over. That was all
Yeah,
wonderful, but they're scared. And friends, the public, your
right.
family,
Yeah.
you're going to relapse, and relapse is worse. And
Oh goodness.
everybody,
Yeah,
everybody sent me an article.
yeah.
Everybody sent me a video, and a lot of them weren't even relevant. A lot of them
Oh,
were just scary. And
yeah.
and I thought, no. And the doctor said, and the nurse, stop watching the news. The
Okay.
only place you should be getting your guidelines and your statistics is the CDC or
Correct.
the World Health Organization.
And
The
that is
nightly
true.
news is to do nothing but make you tune in again at 11. And the next morning, they need you to be scared, so you watch their shows. And
Yes.
I'm not trying to discredit the news. I know everybody has to make a living, but from the doctors, just go to the website, read the CDC. They have them. The doctor and the nurse said that's where they're getting all their information. That's it, is the
Yeah.
CDC.
But you know
So
what? That is so true. My husband's a physician. He says the same thing. Go to CDC. That's it.
perfect. Yeah.
You know, because all
Okay.
the rest, it's just, yeah, just stick with those guidelines.
Yeah.
Wow.
So when she said that, and in talking to her, she said,
Hmm.
you are through the worst of it. You are not relapsing.
Hmm.
This is a slow process. So that was just this week. That was a few days
Right.
ago. I'm waking up today on day 17. I sound better. I'm
Yeah.
not coughing every second.
Yeah.
Yesterday I had to tape a podcast, and it was
Mhm.
difficult. I kept,
Yeah.
I could tell
Yeah.
it was still lingering. I did
Hmm.
cough a lot last night. So I don't know what tonight will look like.
Yeah.
Usually about between 6 and 8 o'clock. That's
That's
all I've
when,
got. And I'm not a
right.
big TV person. So for me to say that and really be confined to the sofa and just resting, it's all part of
It,
it. It's just,
yeah.
that's done. I'm done. Just doing the kids' schoolwork and, um, doing the dishes. That's going to be all
Yeah.
I have right now.
Yeah. And the headache is still
N-
dull?
No,
No,
it's gone. It's
it's
gone.
gone.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't have that. I feel like my energy's coming back. I'm no more
Good.
body aches. I mean, I'm definitely, getting the wind back in my sails. I keep
Yeah.
saying that, like, no pun intended, because it is literally getting your wind back. So,
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I am so thankful. And I know those listening to are really grateful to hear your story, because there are some people out there who probably have the symptoms, who are home, who are listening, don't know what to do, scared, but listen to your story. That gives us hope, and
yeah.
what you went through. It's,
Yeah, it's scary, and not knowing where I got it. Just
I
the whole, it's
know.
very surreal. I kept
Hmm.
even just staring at Derek, like I cannot believe I got this. I cannot,
Hmm.
the whole thing that this whole world is going through, the pandemic, and
Yeah.
I know we're all sitting in it, and we're having a show about it, but it's overwhelming,
Hmm.
that this is the reality, and I'm grateful. I feel I came through it. I'm one of the lucky
Yeah.
ones.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that are losing loved ones, and that is terrifying. And I get
Yeah.
it. And that level of anxiety, I know I've touched on it a little bit, but I feel like that's really important, because as hard as this was physically, it was equally as hard mentally. When you don't want to sleep, and I'm staying up till 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning for fear of shutting my eyes and not being able to breathe, that is very, very real. and
Yeah.
watching my kids be anxious.
Mm.
And I didn't tell them. They thought I had the flu. We kept
Oh, wow.
Yes, I
Okay.
did not. When I got back from urgent care, I knew that it would be a
Yeah.
really difficult road if my young children, with only mom
Mhm.
here in the house, knew that I had corona. When I got the result back, and even after I started turning the corner, we told
Mhm.
them,
Yeah.
just so they would understand and have
Yeah.
gratitude for what I went
Yeah.
through. But
Yeah.
yeah, they did. I think still think that's the right decision to
Yeah.
not tell
That's
them
good. Yeah.
unless it got real serious.
Yeah. And I know you are a woman of great faith. So how did that play into all of this for you?
Well, that was huge. I am. I just live by my faith. I walk a very strong path. That's my testimony.
Yeah.
My girls, my unit, we have a Bible study at my store that we meet once a week, but that's all become virtual. And so
Mm.
that support system, that those prayer warriors, even when I was so sick and I felt like just completely brain dead. And I don't want to say you
Wow.
don't pray through those moments, because that's when you pray the strongest, but knowing that everyone was praying for me. I was too sick to get on our Zoom calls. We do twice a week.
Mm.
I couldn't even show up. I couldn't even
Right.
be face to face with them like I am with you right now.
Right.
Those ladies that were praying for me in a
Yeah.
time when you're too sick to do it for yourself. Derek is an extremely faithful man. So I would have him lay hands on me at night. Some of the scariest
Wow.
nights,
Yeah.
he would lay hands on me and we would pray. When I could get up and go to the table, our church is doing some Bible study, some devotionals. So we would do
Mhm.
some family devotionals with the kids. So of course, that leads the charge in getting me through this, and I
Yeah,
give
for
the glory
sure.
to God that I am here and I am one of the survivors,
Yeah.
to be able to talk and tell my story
Yeah.
and share this with all of you. Even if you have it and you just need the emotional support.
Yeah.
But I do want to tell everyone, there is my Facebook page. My platform is Status Life with Leta, and this
Yeah.
is not a promo for my platform. This is how to
Yeah.
reach me if you want to ask questions.
Correct.
Go to Status, that's the name of my business,
Yeah.
Life with Leta,
Yeah.
and use Messenger. I've had a lot of people reach out and just want to ask questions.
Yeah.
A guy in the military, his wife was tested, and he just wanted, what were your first symptoms and
Yeah.
how long did it last? And I'm happy to talk anyone through it if
Yeah.
they need anything, some support.
Yeah. And I think that's all right now. That's what people are craving for, just support in this times.
Mhm.
Whether you have it, you don't have it. We all want to be supported in one way or the other. So thank you for that. So before we go, do you have anything else to add,
I'm
to
just plugging in
say?
my computer here. It's
No problem.
about to die. What to add?
Anything else?
Pretty much what I've said. Just listen to
Okay.
your doctors, call your nurses. Don't be afraid of that. I know the statistics are scary. It's scary going through it. I'm not taking anything away from that. Again, the mental part of this is just as challenging as the physical. So whatever makes you feel better. I mean, I've probably had 20 texts a day from people that don't have it. My stomach hurts, or I have a headache. I don't just reach out to someone
Mm.
that makes you feel better in this time, because everybody understands.
Oh yeah,
And,
for sure.
use that support system. And oh, don't kill me, but turn off the news, because
Yes.
it's not,
Oh, I agree. I agree.
I don't want a million angry reporters, texting me, but I want real people who are struggling with this to know
Yeah.
where to go, and to know that most people, and the doctor had said this, or the nurse in one of my many phone calls, most people will not get on a respirator. Most people will be able to recover at home. We have heard that. Take it from me. I did get very, very sick. I didn't leave the bed for almost a week without energy, not hard to breathe, but never gasping. I never got to
Mm,
that point.
mm.
And so you can recover at home, but just stay home. My goodness. I mean, they're saying this for a reason.
Yeah.
And, I caught it probably before the mandate was as serious as it is now.
Right. Oh, one quick question. So can you sleep lying down yet or no?
I don't, I
No?
haven't yet.
Okay.
I was watching TV last night, down, probably scooted down the furthest I've been, and I only lasted about 20 minutes. And I
Oh,
could feel the pressure on my chest. So I scooted back up, and that's how I woke up this morning. So
okay.
if it's getting me good sleep, which is what my body needs, then propped up. And sleeping on your back is not comfortable, but
Mhm.
it is more comfortable than not sleeping and getting a headache and not being able to
Yeah.
breathe.
Yeah.
So
Well, thank you, Lita, for sharing your
you're
story.
welcome. I hope it was helpful. That's my
I'm
only
sure.
goal.
I'm sure. And we keep praying for you for a full
Thank
recovery.
you.
You're well on the
Thank
way
you.
anyway, but we're just going to add
Love
more
the
prayers
prayers.
so it, you know,
Yes.
comes and then love to your wonderful kids. And thank you to Derek for just being wonderful. He's a wonderful person anyway, but just
He's
being
a
there for
trooper.
you and just
Yes.
helping with the kids. And, you needed that. And
And
he's
thank you for
there.
doing this and having me
Yeah.
on and sharing these stories. We love
Yeah.
what you're doing. Really
Thank
appreciate it. So
you.
thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Take care. Bye.
Bye.